Hey there everybody, welcome back to part 4 of how to build a chainsaw bike. This video I'm going to be working on the throttle cable instead of the clutch cable. I just realized that I better fix the throttle cable first, because then it's easier to fix the clutch cable after that, because you can actually power it up and down. Okay, so we're going to get moving. Now I'm using the Homelight 240 engine. It's a 40cc engine. Before I get started, I'm going to cut this off. What this was a handle mount. It's going to be in the way of the throttle cable and everything I want to fix. I'm going to cut it off with the grinder. Just be careful you don't start a fire. Now my throttle cable is going to run from this lever here all the way back to the engine. Now what I've used for this is a mountain bike cable. It's actually a cable to change gears on a mountain bike. So the tip's like that. It's a bit small, but it's going to work inside my lever here. I can always solder a bigger tip on there, like in my previous video if I need to. So I'm going to open up the lever and put the cable in there, and I'm going to insert it in the lever cracks here just so that it goes in, and turn it. Then it'll give me a bit of adjustment over here. So I'll leave it like that for now. And then when I pull on the cable, it's going to go in like that. Now I ran the cable through the handlebars over here. I've just quickly tie wrapped it for now, just to simulate where it would go. I've also tie wrapped it at the back here just for now. And this is where I'm at with the cable. I may have to cut the tip of the cable and cut some of the sheath off. So I am going to have to cut the tip off. Grab a real good pair of side cutters. And because the cable part here isn't long enough to reach from here to the carburetor, I'm going to have to cut out some of the sheathing so that it will allow me some cable to the carburetor. So I'm going to start over here for now, but before you do that, you've got to remove the cable from inside the sheathing. Now you're going to have to remove it from here again. And now pull the cable out of the sheathing like this, so you know you're not cutting the cable. So this is where I'm going to cut my cable. The sheathing, I mean. And then I'm going to reinsert the cable in there by pushing at the other end. So now I've pulled the cable and I've got a lot more cable to work with from where I'm going to mount my bracket. Now in the Homelight 240 there's a throttle linkage here, which I'm going to use as part of my throttle mechanism. So I'm going to remove the linkage from this side, because I'm going to have to use it on the opposite side. I'm going to reinsert the tip here back into the throttle linkage, except I'm putting the arm on the opposite direction, like that. And you can see that you can give it gas from this direction now. So now all I have to do is make some kind of connection here to hook up the throttle cable to. So my bracket's going to somehow have to be connected to this part of the chainsaw motor right here, so that it's separate from that, and then when it goes up and down, it's not going to affect the throttle. This is what I'm going to use for the throttle bracket instead. This came off of an old bed frame, and I simply bent it over here and cut it the length. It was already bent like this. So the bottom of this is going to be welded under here, and it's going to stick out like this, and then I'm going to run the cable right through here. Here's a rear view of it, and I still have to drill a hole here to run the cable through. So I've got the clamp clamped with a C-clamp, and I'm going to tack that on now. So I've got the bracket just slightly tacked on there. I don't want to give it a full weld, just in case I ever need to remove it. So now I'm going to insert my throttle cable through this hole here. So now I'm going to insert my cable through here. Now what I have here is a cable stop with a little screw on. You can buy these on eBay. I'm going to insert that through the cable. The good thing about this is it gives you a chance to adjust your cable. So I'm going to put it where I think it's good. And next I'm going to insert it into the linkage like that. So this linkage already had the groove here, and sometimes when you build projects you just got to take advantage of every opportunity that comes by. So it's going to work if I just insert the screw in and then bend this back a bit just to keep it locked in there. So that won't come out. And I'll try the cable. I can see my bracket's a bit flimsy. It actually moves when you give it gas. Actually, I've been thinking it over, and the fact that this is a bit flimsy isn't a bad thing. Because normally, if the throttle was full open at half, the throttle thing would stop halfway like this. So someone could force it even after that. But with the thing being flimsy, like that, it allows me to put the throttle right to the bar, just like that, without damaging anything. So it's going to have to be tested, and then I'll see what to do. I'm going to give it a test run and see how that throttle cable works. So that's awesome. That works really good. Really happy with that. Sometimes when you make either a go-kart or a chainsaw bike, the throttle cable is pretty long, so it's a lot of weight for it to bring back. And the spring on the carburetor usually isn't strong enough to bring your throttle cable back. So I've had to grab a spring, any old spring. You need the right tension, whatever works for your project. Now where the linkage is on the carburetor for the throttle cable, you can see it move now. Doesn't really want to come back good. What you have to do is you have to hook up a spring to that. Just like this. You may have to modify the end and grab the throttle cable. And what you want to do is you want the spring to put pressure in the opposite position as to when you give it gas. So once you've got the spring hooked up to the carburetor, now it's to find a place to hook up the other end of the spring. For this, I've drilled a little hole right here, and it's going to give me just the right amount of tension. And that's the spring that was on when I just started it up. And now you can see it comes back good. So I'm really pleased with the progress so far, especially with that throttle cable. It just couldn't have worked out any better than that. So this will wrap up part 4. In part 5, I am going to work on the clutch cable and show you all the details for that. And I hope to see you then.